Hello, my name is Mary Catherine Forsyth, and for this critical theory research project, I decided to look into the psychoanalytical theory and the Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds. So, a little bit of background about Freud's theory because his theory makes up a lot of the theories studied in psychoanalytical theory. His theory is made up of three main parts. The first part is repression. Now, this repression occurs when someone faces something traumatic in their lives and moves past or tries to move past the bad memories by forgetting or ignoring the unresolved feelings, traumatic events, or disturbing scenarios that they have witnessed. Then the second part of this is the unconscious. When the mind is still working beyond human conscious awareness, but nevertheless, it still controls a lot of human action and interaction. So basically, we don't realize that our unconscious is working, but it is, and it still controls part of what we do. The third part to this theory is sublimation. And this is when repressed feelings are turned into something much larger and are recognized as being much more noble than they really are, even if they are not noble or even good. And there's an example of that I will tell you about from The Birds in just a minute. So, the relationships between the characters in the film The Birds. The relationship between the characters, none of them really had normal relationships. And abandonment actually plays a big role in the relationships between characters in this film. Then there's the strange relationship between Mitch and his mother Lydia. Because Lydia has a very strong desire to be the only woman in her son's life, even though her son is a grown man. And then Melanie, the other woman in Mitch's life, does not get along well with Lydia because Lydia feels threatened by Melody. So, because Lydia feels threatened by Melanie, the birds actually give a real picture of her unconscious feeling and how the repressed feelings that she has have sprung up through her unconscious, and the birds act as her unconscious and attack Melanie because of the way that Lydia feels threatened by her. So basically, Melanie is attacked by the birds because Lydia sends the bird attacks to anyone who spends time with Melanie in an attempt to scare them or Melanie away. An example of this is when Kathy has her birthday party and she invites Melanie to come to her birthday party. Now, even though Kathy is Lydia's daughter and not necessarily somebody who she would want to harm, she still sends the bird attacks, which hurt Kathy as well as Melanie, in an attempt to warn Kathy that if she keeps spending time with Melanie, she also will be harmed. This is the example of the sublimation that occurs in Lydia's mind. The greater good and the goal that she is fighting for is keeping Mitch protected and keeping him for herself. And in the meantime, she is harming Kathy, who is also her child. But keeping Mitch protected seems like the bigger goal in her own mind. However, there is some resolution in the film The Birds. The final bird attack begins the final resolution because Melanie needs Lydia's help after she gets attacked by the birds, and Lydia no longer sees Melanie as a threatening figure. Lydia not only feels that she has her son back, but she also has another daughter in some way through Melanie. And then on Melanie's side, Melanie desires that motherly love and attention that Lydia is willing to give her because her own mother abandoned her as a young child. Finally, in the last scene of the film, it shows Melanie curled up and wrapped in Lydia's arms, giving Lydia the power that she has always desired. Because now Melanie does not feel so much like a threat to Lydia, but rather another child and someone else who she can control like she controls Mitch. The three takeaways from psychoanalytical theory in The Birds. The Birds, though traditionally classified as a horror slash thriller film actually shows the inner workings of the unconscious. There is only a resolution in The Birds because Lydia is given back control and no longer feels threatened by the other women around her, and specifically around her son Mitch. And the confusion that the characters in this film feel is shown through the chaos of the bird attacks. Because of the attacks, we can see how crazy the characters are feeling on the inside and really examine the inside of their brain and their unconscious.